This is Rydo, and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, August 17th. We started late, and it's a lazy Friday, so we've still got a decent amount of news, and we've got... I need to use my hero power 15 times, so I guess I'll play as a hunter. And then, worst case scenario, I'll hop into the European account where I have a challenge a friend quest and see if anybody is online that would actually let me challenge them. Otherwise, I'll have to do it off screen. If that doesn't work, I'll hop back to the main account, to the US Americas account, and use that.
Rexa versus Troll.
For Doomhammer, let the hunt begin.
Yeah, what was I gonna say there? Yeah, I'll go back to the main account and just play rank play. That's what I was gonna say. And we'll try and get up to higher ranks. We've got a lot of news, so I'm gonna try and burn through it as fast as possible. We may have some games that will get left over for Monday. Gamma Sutra has an article, Don't Nod's Vampyr, V-A-M-P-Y-R, the game that came out relatively recently, has been picked up for a TV adaptation by Fox 21. Now, picked up is a difficult term in the TV industry to explain. It says Fox 21 has snatched up the rights to a television series, so I bet they've optioned it, but I don't know if that means that they are getting funded to write like a 3-episode on speculation pilots, or if they've... It doesn't seem like they've gotten anywhere close to securing a 6-episode run, 12-episode run, 1-season run, or anything like that. And Fox in particular is pretty bad about canceling things. So even if this vampire show did happen, it's probably just going to get canceled relatively quickly, to the dismay of anybody who may have liked it. Fox 21 is the production company behind the shows Supernatural and Shadowhunters and DJ2 Entertainment. And they're the co-producer of the upcoming live-action and CG Sonic the Hedgehog film to adapt the game for TV. So I don't know what Shadowhunters is, and I don't know what DJ2 Entertainment. I guess DJ2 Entertainment might be the co-producer that is doing the live-action Sonic and CG Sonic. If I was to guess. Alright. Deal 3, summon 3/3 wolf. I do know what Supernatural is, of course. I think most people would. But I don't know if Supernatural... Honestly, when I try to think about Supernatural and for its like 12 seasons that it's been going on, I think it's just like a cheap show that's fair enough to watch, but if you actually were to try and cut it down to the good episodes, you barely would get 3 or 4 seasons out of it. It ended pretty badly at the end of this last season, and every time it ends, it's teased as if this is going to be the final season, which is probably just no confirmation whether the CW is going to renew it or not. The article goes on to say the arrangement marks the second time one of Don't Nod's titles has been picked up for a television adaptation following its 2015 release of Life is Strange. DJ2 Entertainment was also brought on board for that project, though things have been quiet about the planned Life is Strange TV series in the 2 years since it was first revealed. Which really, for Don't Nod, all this means is the French company has sold the television rights, probably just in the United States, to these to Fox 21, and they're just sitting on it like they sit on so many rights, because they just didn't want anybody else to get it. That's kind of all it like breaks down to. Let's see. Yeah, there's really no more news to take from that, really. You very unlikely will ever see a vampire TV series. If it does come out, I mean, it's unlikely that it would matter one way or the other. Okay, change this health to this, and then change this.
The eternal hunt has begun.
Let's see. I wanted to point this out, like NIS America has apparently refunded people who pre-purchased the game in Disgaea 2 for PC. I think it's Disgaea 5 complete for PC. Everyone who pre-purchased in May received a refund for their game to prevent any kind of overcharge since the game is discounted now. Please pre-purchase the game, not the digital Dude edition, and you will receive the art book for free. So I bet what happened here is there was some slight of delay. There's some sort of delay that caused a need to refund or desire to treat the customer well, I suppose. Let's see. Deal 1 damage. And take that. And then the PSA Part 2. Please note, if you're pre-purchasing the game in May, you do not need to pre-purchase the digital Dude edition to get the art book. It will be given to you free of charge. For those of you pre-purchasing now for the free time, the digital art book will not be included. So they've got a list of people who pre-purchased it in May, and they will get the art book, but other people won't. That's just kind of a mess. It's just a mess in general. I don't know why they wouldn't have just made the digital art book as a separate DLC item. I don't know if Steam would let them do this, and just give it to the people as quick as possible to solve questions about it as quickly. I will take this one, and I will take this one, and I'll make like an 8. Whenever this menu takes damage, deal 3 damage to your hero. Oh man, I did not play that right. In the turn. So yeah. Difficulty pre-ordering Disgaea 5. So do some research had you pre-ordered it. We've got a game on Steam called Mind Over Mushroom. It looks like a bit of an asset flip game. It says it's a turn-based tactical game. I don't know if it I guess it's something like XCOM, just animated a lot worse. It's single player only. It has 19 achievements. It's 10% off for $13.49. Seems like it has a tiny little square areas that you're working in. It seems the trailer's set in this like giant pumpkin fields with pumpkins bigger than they likely would ever have been or could ever be. Yeah, this just kind of feels like an asset. Asset flip type game. Seems like maybe you play as skeletons and it has like a Halloween theme to it. That would explain the pumpkins. Yep. Yep. But nothing here catches my attention. First game from this developer. 10% off for $13.49 if I didn't say that. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. A glitch in Twitch. Say that 3 times fast. A glitch in Twitch may have exposed streamers' private messages. I'm not 100% sure what private messages per se would ever have been sent on Twitch. I guess there could have been certainly some of that happening, but like in all realisticness, I feel like that's not gonna have happened too often.
I shall bring you rest.
Some archives of the old private messaging systems included messages that were intended for other people. Prior to the removal of the old messages feature in May, Twitch enabled streamers to download archives of their messages before they were nuked into nothingness. As reported by Polygon, it didn't go quite as planned, and some messages ended up going to the wrong people. Doesn't seem like this was probably doesn't seem like it's much of an issue. I doubt very many people even use that system. Let's see. It's time to move on. So look at this. Let's do this. Get that. And a cheap one like that. I could have played a secret. Oh man.
I shall bring you rest.
There you go. Twitch didn't mention how many messages were misdirected or tell me or how many streamers were affected, but it set up a portal to tell you if your private communications were among them. But yeah, I've never used Twitch private messages. I think somebody maybe private messaged me, but on my Twitch account. But since my Twitch account is just a backend, I didn't respond to it. I just read it probably a lot later. Let's keep on playing Spell Hunter. I guess that's the right one to do. Next, we have a game on Steam called Sandhill Architectures. It's this. Seems like it's a programming game. Work as a programmer for Sandhill Architectures in the 1973's design and optimized programs using Sandhill's Architecture's new and most powerful computer, the Sandhill III. So yeah, this is a programming game that I'm not sure why you would want to play this programming game when there was a better programming game that came out about a week ago that has looks like it has better graphics, better storyline, and more of a reason to want to play that if you're not super obsessed with programming. And at a certain level, if you just love programming, you take the video game aspect out of it, because the video games aren't the best way to teach programming by far. They might teach some basic concepts, and then that's kind of it. So if you want to program by all means, but if you want to learn programming, you probably want to do something else. Yes, and one of the recommended games is called Exapunk, and Exapunk is the better programming game. It looks better, it has a story, and if you're going to play anything, play Exapunk. It's rated very positive, 96% of 77 users. It's being played by Scott Manley. I believe he is actually a rocket scientist who got popular, to me at least, by playing Kerbal Space Program, which is an incredibly difficult game. So inherently Exapunk might also be a pretty difficult game, but programming games in general. Also, the game 7 Billion Humans is about to come out, and that is also going to be a programming game, and it's probably even better than Exapunk if I was to guess. I don't know for sure. And so yeah, 7 Billion Humans might be the game to wait for. Let's see. We have a Gamatsu article. The game Varnier of the Dragon Star has 3 new characters. They're talking about Persian, Durandal, and Shikuta. Looks like 3 guy characters. Let's see what game this is. It's a Varnier of the Dragon Star. Eclipsis of the Dragon is due for the PS4 on October 11th in Japan. I'm not sure if this is going to come out to the West. It looks like it's a Japanese RPG. It might just be a little too Japanese. Summon 3 white, 3 wolves.
I don't have enough mana.
I don't have enough mana, okay. Put them in the turn. That's one of those Gamatsu simplistic articles. Here we have a VR game called Flotilla 2. They say it's a tactical game about big battleships in outer space. I would say it's an asset flip game with a bunch of random junk floating around, not even in space, because you just have this brown background behind you, not stars or blackness. It has 100 Steam achievements. It's 10% off for $8.99. This may be the marking of the first Steam achievement game that has been released for VR. Which, that's certainly an interesting new twist, if that's the case. But it also points out that VR is not getting established as good games. It's just kind of getting really mediocre games at best released under that banner, under that platform. Let's kill this guy and do this. This. Return. I am trying to win as I'm playing, so I'll take victories even if I'm not accomplishing my goals. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. The generation hopping platformer The Messenger is coming, delivers the goods on August 30th, it says. It looks like it is a platformer game. Actually, I've already seen a quick look of this. This looks very much like a NES game, and because of that, it's not very visually appealing. It also looks like it's going to be really, really hard. The Messenger will launch on Steam August 30th. It also apparently, it says it's coming to the Switch also, so that's something. Let's hit this, track this. Do this. Play. I'm going to do that then. Do this instead. Do that instead. And then take one more health. And then return. Let's see. I guess I'll keep an eye on the messenger and put it on my wish list just to keep an eye on it. To see if it gets really, really well reviewed. But from my initial appearance of it, it doesn't seem like it's there. Let's see, I still need to do like 5 more uses of the hero power. Okay, we've got a game on Steam called Drunk Fu Wasted Masters. It's a multiplayer 4-on-4 beat 'em up type game, although it might be more than 4-on-4. It says it's single player, but it really is just multiplayer for the most part. 26 achievements. You can buy it for $9.99, or if you play it in the next hour and 19 minutes as of this stream, you can play it for free.
Your soul shall be mine. Let the hunt begin.
I've seen so many of these games. First recommendation I see is not recommended. It says it has poor game modes, few levels, poor AI, game feels like you don't know what you're doing and just smash the buttons. Not a good sound design. Yeah. Seen so many of these games, they seem to be in some people's head like a brawler 3D Smash Brothers type game. People seem to think that that's an easy thing to do when that's actually a really, really difficult thing to do, because it gets into a ton of nuance and balance. And if you're just throwing 4 characters on a platform and telling them to fight, you're not going to make a good game. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, I have no interest in Drunk Fu Wasted Masters. Let's see if it's... the only other game made by this developer is called Spareware, and it has mixed reviews. We have a game called In Your Realm on Steam. They say it's an old school challenging RPG. Oh, it's my turn, so I have to actually play. RPG roguelike experience with randomized encounters and a unique combat system. To beat the game, the player needs to play through every weakness of their personality represented in the game as bosses in their respected worlds. This looks kind of like it's aping the Binding of Isaac animation style, but it's telling a slightly different story. I guess in a lot of ways this is just a clone of Binding of Isaac, but we haven't seen a lot of Binding of Isaac clones that succeeded since Binding of Isaac and its sequels and its DLC utterly dominated for at least 3 or 4 years, I would say. The animation doesn't look great on this though. Do I want to give this one In Your Realm enough of an opportunity to even look at it? Is the question I'm asking myself. It's the 10% off for $11.69. There are no reviews. I guess I'll be generous and keep an eye on this. The thing about the Binding of Isaac art style is it is very close to being just an ugly art style and a badly drawn art style. So looking at In Your Realm and they're kind of aping that art style but not doing it quite as good, well then it's one step closer to being ugly. this is the first game for this developer. I'll keep an eye on this. I can't recommend playing In Your Realm right now unless it just really catches your attention, or you've played so much Binding of Isaac at this point that it's ridiculous.
To my side.
It would be silly to play more of it. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article going into the deep end of horror with the Deep End Games. Deep End Games made the game Perception, and so this is probably just an interview with them. Yes, it is. And they're working on something new called Dark Web. I'm not sure how you could really make the dark web scary. Like, to me it sounds kind of ridiculous and just like a bunch of people who don't know what the internet was and has kind of always been are now calling it scary and calling it the dark web. See, I just don't think it's going to turn into the boogeyman that people who use that phrase think it is going to be. The dark web might simply describe people who are just using a VPN to avoid government spying and censorship. This article though is just a TechRaptor interview article. It doesn't seem, I don't see any quote mines here or anything that really are saying anything too important. We'll hear more about the game called Dark Web later. Let's see, is this game in English? Yes, it's in English and simplified Chinese. It's called Stay or Leave. Looks like it's an RPG-esque game, RPG Maker-esque game. Not very well animated at all. Just looks ugly and boring. It is widescreen, I guess it deserves a little bit of applaud there. Stay or Leave is $3.99. No achievements or anything. Let's see. Deal this. And then deal this. Oh. You know what? I played that wrong. I should have attacked with that. And then... Let's see, what are we looking at? Yeah, Stay or Leave. Not interested. Not interested. Since China's not approving any of their own games, it starts to make more sense that these Chinese games are getting approved. And frankly, if Valve and Steam came out and said, oh, the reason why we've had a delay in approving visual novels and such is because China, we've seen a major increase in games that are trying to get approved, and it's just slowed us down, that would be, I think, more reasonable a response.
I hunt alone.
It would be at least something, but that's not what they're saying. And I don't know if I'm saying I would prefer for them to lie to me, but I kind of would prefer companies to lie to me and give me a reasonable reason instead of showing their face, their nasty side, just directly. Like, there is something about being ashamed about the nasty things you're doing versus being unashamed about the nasty things you're doing. Well, that's quite the event there. We have a game on Steam called Slip Drive. They say it's a small, fast-paced game designed to provide challenge and test your reflexes. I would say it looks like a 1990s PC game where you're flying around different environments. I mean, if these are asset flip environments, they are very old and ugly looking asset flip environments. Like, you could do better these days. Third-party EULA, seeing a lot of that. Apparently it's a VR game too, although it doesn't say you need VR. It's 20% off for $3.99. They're calling it a throwback to classic arcade style games of the 90s. I'm like, the graphics don't need to be a throwback. And this is the first game by this developer. Yeah, no interest there. Next game we have on Steam is called Chase. It says it's a fast-paced co-op, local co-op game. You control a spaceship trapped in a force field with the 3 other players, a missile, and a tracking beacon. The last man standing by shooting the beacon. Be the last man standing by shooting the beacon and sticking it to the other players so they die in a glorious explosion. Interesting concept. Implemented very poorly here. Again, 90s level animation, flat top-down 2D graphics. It seems like when something blows up, sometimes the shield might get smaller. Maybe. Again, it says it's single player, but it's probably not. It has 20 achievements, 10% off for $7.19. Way too expensive for what it looks like. Way too expensive. Yeah, I just don't get why these cheap bad games can make it through so easily. But Steam is stopping the visual novels, which would be better quality than this game. For example, Chase. I would, any day of the week, I would bet on a random visual novel over a game like Chase to sell more, to entertain more people, to have a better quality product, better animation, better audio, better kind of everything you can think of, better story. So I don't know why you're hurting your storefront by not releasing good products and instead releasing a bunch of bad products. If they were just gonna say we're gonna not approve anything, that'd be one thing, but they're picking favorites and they're picking the wrong things as favorites. I think almost anyone would agree to that. Here, next game we have on Steam is called We Escape, W-E-S-C-A-P-E. Seems like it is a maze runner asset flip game where you're in a 3D maze trying to escape. Seems like there might be some puzzles too where you have to, I don't know, assemble like a Rubik's Cube in the air. So like that's more than I expected this game to actually have. And it seems like there might be some other puzzles too, but the graphics look so bad. There's no way anybody should put up with how awful this looks.
I wonder.
Yeah, yep. It's just ugly asset flips. Ugly asset flips, that's all we're seeing. 6 achievements, 10% off for $2.69. Is it because these games are labeled as early access, or are they just not getting looked at by Steam at all? Next game we have is called GoTo, G-O-T-O. GoTo is a minimalistic maze game which leads you to Finish the level by moving in 4 directions, it says. It looks like it is an ASCII-based maze game with most of the screen not having anything on it. It is horribly, horribly lacking in graphics. I don't know what how am I supposed to get rid of this? Like, I need this to die and this to die, and yeah, I think I can do that. Probably gonna lose here. Go-To is 15% off for 84 cents, which most of the games we've seen today have not been selling for $1, $1.50 or anything. They are asking for $7, $10, $15, even though they're incredibly bad. I do want to also mention that Go-To is not a word. In programming language, there's a command Go-To, G-O-T-O, but in the English dictionary, it is G-O space T-O. So I almost forever am in my head making the mistake of thinking Go-To or typing Go-To as if it's a word. I think a lot of programmers, particularly programmers who were taught to program in BASIC where Go-To as a command was acceptable, almost all programming languages after BASIC as just a general said never use Go-To at all, and then they've danced around different ways to not use Go-To even in situations where it might make some sense, yeah, Go-To is the #1 forbidden command that you're taught to never use, even though it might be included in some older languages. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article, Coverage Club, Flavors of Fantasy. This is a collection of games. So they're talking about a game called FHTAGN, The Tales of Creeping Madness. I don't know if these are new games or old games. A game called Arafel, A-R-A space F-E-L-L. Looks like it's an RPG Maker game. And that's it. I don't think I need to particularly go back and follow the Coverage Club articles going forward. I'll have to remember that. FHTAGN is rated 92% positive with 14 user reviews in the last 30 days. Some kind of board game Cthulhu-esque thing. I'll keep an eye on it and see. Might be worth a laugh. How much do they want for it? $4.99. Like, at least in a game like this, it looks relatively decent, and it's got some reviews behind it, and it's not asking for too much money. Okay, so now we are done with this. Let's switch back to the European account, and I guess what I need to do to be most efficient with my time is I need to see if I can get a challenge a friend, and until that challenge a friend gets done, I'm just going to play ranked on European and try to add more friends online.
Pull up a chair by the hearth.
Randomly friending people. Inherently, this is an admittance that the idea of making the European and Asian accounts so I could play people isn't really successful. Oh, I did make a new Druid decks for both the European and Asian accounts, so I should show those off and try them. But yeah, there's clearly not enough people that are interested in me in playing me for that to have been a priority when I did it. However, it does allow me to have more gold to open more card packs, which I guess people like.
What?
Those videos still get looked at. I really feel like a lot of the new season videos for Hearthstone, though, are populated by people who just want to watch the card pack opening videos, and that's it. And then they don't subscribe to my channel, and they have like no loyalty to my channel or my content. In general, I'm not sure how loyal anybody who watches any of my Hearthstone content is, because they will watch it on the live stream, but then they don't go back and watch the reruns, which they probably should, even though it's the same content. It's been separated far enough away that it would still be worth watching. You probably won't remember the games I played. I definitely won't.
Put this apple on your head.
Let's see. Guess I'm just gonna end the turn there. So yeah, my pre-recorded versions of Hearthstone don't get any views. My pre-recorded content of other games don't get really many views either. So Hearthstone in general is probably failing more than I'd like to admit to do the thing it needs to do, which is bring in a larger audience to the other content. Moving on though, we have a game on Steam called Death Fungeon, F-U-N-G-E-O-N. It says it's a puzzle platformer game with both stealth and parkour elements. To me, it looks like it is a platformer, Super Meat Boy-esque game. It's not animated particularly well. Like, Super Meat Boy, despite its weird artistic style, is very, very polished in its graphics. And all of these Super Meat Boy games that I see that are trying to copy that go for this cheap and lazy 8-bit animation style that I just have no patience for. Like, I have to talk about it every single time, basically. It's just like, this is not an acceptable level of quality of content that I'm seeing being animated here. And so even if this game that I'm looking at, the Death Fungeon, does have some puzzles in it that are a little interesting and going in a different direction, and looks like it has pretty smooth platforming, I still would end up looking at a rather ugly game. And if I'm going to kill myself and hurt my fingers by playing a game like Super Meat Boy, why not just play Super Meat Boy? Like, I've been sitting on playing games like Super Meat Boy for a long, long time because I don't want that. I don't want to hurt my fingers quite simply with all the button mashing and resetting and starting over and trying again over and over again. Oops. I didn't play that quite the way it should have been played. Right.
Job done.
End the turn. Let's see. Death Fungeon is 10% off for $1.79, so it's not asking a lot. So if you do like Super Meat Boy-esque games, this probably is the one for you to at least check out. I just don't, so I'm not gonna do it. Next game we have on Steam is called Dad Quest. It says embark on a great dad venture in a unique comedy based on a 2D platformer. Raise your child to become the weapon they were always meant to be. So this is a lot more running and rolling 2D platforming. The animation style is slightly better, but still pixely to a certain extent.
Speak your peace.
Seems like you can throw things and jump, and you got some upgrades. Graphics are a lot better than Enter the Fungeon, but still not great. Still very pixely. And maybe I could play a game like this, and the silliness of it being a dad quest might play a role in that too. So I'm willing to give this one a bit of more of a chance. It's 40% off for $7.79. It's asking for more, but it's also 89% positive of 29 user reviews. It came out August 17th. Let's see. It is from a developer who also made Diaries of a Space Janitor and the Queer Games bundle, so I guess which games are included in that? Diaries of a Space Janitor on that bundle. They've started doing these bundles that are from different people's like different developers games, so you can associate your game with a much better developer's game. But yeah, this developer has made one other game that's positively reviewed. So I think Dad Quest is good. The publisher is Excalibur Games, the publisher of like Jalopy and a couple other things, Shopkeep 2.
There once was a man from
So there's something there to at least look at. I wouldn't be surprised if Dad Quest actually gets more hype than it really deserves from the mainstream media, but I'll keep an eye on it. Next game we have is called Chiptune DJ, a rhythm-based game where you play along catchy 8-bit chiptune music to improve your rhythmic and coordination skills, build up your combos. So this is a pixely like rock band style clone with chiptune music, which I'm not sure people really would want to listen to exclusively chiptune music for very long. It feels almost like chiptune is some of that lo-fi hip-hop stuff to games that they do on YouTube to avoid copyright by just changing the pitch and pitch shifting the songs. Yeah, I don't know if that's really the reason why it's chiptune or not. Chiptune DJ is 40% off for $1.79. Alright, so this guy's already jumped in, but we can continue to play. It's $1.79, 40% off. I think I just said that. For me, it's too ugly, and I'm not a big fan of music games in general. Music games tend to play non-video game music, and non-video game music tends to try to do something very different than what video game music tries to do, because video game music is usually either just setting the mood or being completely background, whereas non-video game music tends to be exactly the opposite, foreground and establishing all the story, all the entertainment. So yeah, Chiptune DJ is the first game from this developer, if that matters. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article, the best new games, no, it's Unknown Pleasures, witness the best 5 new indie games on Steam. They're recommending Flipping Death, which I think I have on my wish list and I'm keeping an eye on. Shaolin versus Wu-Tang, which is a game I missed somehow. Banzo Marks of Slavery, which is a game I think I did put on my wish list. I'd like to see if maybe it's got better reviews now, or some reviews. Mech Corp, I'll look at it, but I doubt I'd want to play that. Post-Human Sanctuary. And their pick of the week is Shaolin versus Wuntang. So a lot of this is clearly just designed to cross-reference and link back to the game, so you would find this article if you search the game's name. Maybe. Let's see how these games. Flipping Death is 90% positive, 11 user reviews in the last 30 days. It came out August 7th. So, which is kind of a crazy small number of people who's reviewed it, considering Flipping Death was covered by like Giant Bomb. And Giant Bomb has started covering games. But honestly, they're going to be covering games until the end of the year. So they've got like 3 months. 3 months, and then they get into December, and then they slow down for December. And that they kind of haven't been covering any games for the first 6 months. Or 6 or 7 months. So I'll double check to make sure Flipping Death's on my wish list. Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang, I just missed that game completely. It came out July 26, 2018. It's very positive, 100% of 57 user reviews in the last 30 days, and 94% of 518 user reviews in its lifetime. And this is like full motion video being rotoscoped into a game like the original Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I am surprised. It's in Chinese, and it's not in Japanese subtitles, but it's in simplified and traditional Chinese subtitles, and the interface works for everybody's languages. Yeah, I just missed that. This is actually a very interesting game, Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang. It's a shame that that stuff still seems like it can happen, where you end up just not seeing the things that are on Steam, even if you're looking at all the games coming out on Steam, or trying to. Banzo Marks of Slavery still has only 8 user reviews, so I'm still like uncertain there whether this is a game worth playing. I will say that there are 6 in my language in English reviews, and they're all rated positively, so yeah, I guess that's gonna get an approval. Of course, I don't have a method right now, and this is the problem, is I need to establish a method where I mark games as should be on the wish list, and not just on the wish list because I'm considering them. And what I was going to do is I was going to look at the Steam wish list next time there's a big sale, and look at any game that is from 2000 and let's say 15, like, or earlier. Any game like that that doesn't have any reviews, I think probably falls off the edge of any relevancy, and because of that, I think I just don't have any real reason to keep it, and I'll still look at it with a critical eye, and maybe there are some games that are really old that nobody's ever found, and there's some sleeper hits, but it's hard to believe there are too many sleeper hits, frankly, or really any It's just in the turn. I'm looking at Mech Corp. It's a turn-based mecha hex grid game. I don't see anything here that interests me. It is 85% of 14 user reviews in the last 30 days, but it's still just doesn't visually appeal to me, so I can close that one. And then Post-Human Sanctuary is early access. It only has 2 user reviews. Looks like it's something. I'll double check and make sure this is on the wish list, just to keep an eye on it. I should also probably just get rid of games that have been in early access since 2000 or earlier. Like, if your game is not out by this point, it should probably just be done.
Not too quickly.
GameIndustry.biz has an article. A U.S. judge blocks man from selling Grand Theft Auto online cheat programs. Take-Two claims the software by David Zipperer has cost the firm more than $500,000. It's hard arguments to prove, certainly, but it seems like the courts are willing to agree to those claims. Quite often they are, at least. Let's see. What else can I do? Yeah, that's it. In the turn. So yeah, court case won by Take-Two against somebody making a cheat. Inherently, there is a slight fear in me that if it's going to get down to the point where little kids are using cheats to get gems in some of these free-to-play games where you buy gems, and then those companies are going to sue those little kids for using the cheat instead of actually buying the gems, and then we're going to have this whole rush of game companies suing kids. And we've already started to see some of that, and it's not good, and I don't want to see more of that happen. Okay. Gonna have to probably take out this one. And this one. And this one. Go here, here, and here.
For the wild.
Play that. And meanwhile, while Take-Two is suing people who are cheating in GTA Online, they're really not doing a lot to develop any new products or sell or improve society by creating new art. They're just hunkering down and trying to make money on the work that they've already done. Quite often the work done by employees who may not even work there anymore. This is similar to one of my major problems with Disney, is that Disney has made all of their money off of making animation of copyright-free stories, and then suing and copyrighting things like Snow White and Cinderella that they had no really right to own anything on, but they will still sue people that make something that looks like the Cinderella that they animated compared to the Cinderella story that existed long before then. On the other hand, also, most of the animators are getting fired or dying out at Disney and getting replaced. So the animators and the developers and the producers that made those old movies don't really work at Disney anymore. So it's really just a bunch of corporate suits that are getting all the money. Meanwhile, society would have done a lot better if Mickey Mouse and a lot of the older works were in public domain like they should have been long ago, so that other people could make derivative works and improve society with more art and more fan fictions and more stories. Let's see. Do I want just attack? Yeah, I think I can just play attack and attack here. And that will put something like that there. And then we can do here. Let's see, TechRaptor has Punch Planet, an article called Punch Planet Hang On with a Nostalgia Fighting Game. Ooh, interesting. I'm gonna find 2 fighting games in one run. Alright, let's see. Let's add a friend here and see if Johnny Blaze will be our friend. Let's spectate here and see how far this guy is from winning or losing. Yeah, he's right at the point there. Come on, come on, come on! Friend request. Player has no wild cards. Standard duel then. I'll play standard just fine. Heck, let's since this isn't ranked play, let's just play Zoo World while we're on is. So Punch Planet is a Games NYC or Play NYC game that was shown off. I don't think it has a Steam. Oh, it is on Steam. Good. So yeah, it's 97% positive. A 34 user reviews. Came out November 8th on 2017. Yeah, November 8th, 2017. So it's kind of an old game that's, I guess, a sleeper hit. I'll put that on my wish list. That it's very interestingly animated. It is still early access for a nostalgia style fighting game. It's a great fighting game if you don't want to play a fighting game full of anime girls. There are females in this game, but they're going for a very different style. Let's not irritate our new friend here. So yes, I'm very interested in Punch Planet. There's a game called Kitten and Food Adventure Pack. It seems to be a very simplistic cell phone-esque port, not in widescreen. Yeah, you're dragging the tail of a cat and flinging around like Angry Birds to collect stars or items. It's 40% off for $1.19. I see no reason why anybody would be interested in Kitten and Food Adventure Pack. Moving on. Do this. TechRaptor has an article adding to your repertoire at Play NYC. Apparently Play NYC took place in a opera house, which is odd. So most certainly to see on the balconies and mezzanines and all the different layers having these displays, and then the entire floor of the opera, and this part looks like some of the stage of the opera house too, has been just established as a small convention place, which you could probably squeeze a lot of displays and things in there, but definitely not as much as you might like to. It's definitely not a Las Vegas style Las Vegas style floor show. We got a game on Steam called Not Tonight. It's positive, 97% of 39 users. Came out August 17th, 2018. It's a point-and-click puzzle, RPG, political simulation. Seems like there's several things. Person of European heritage number 1112. Welcome to the relocation block. Be your new home. Your designated role is bouncer, working hard to stay out of trouble, and we might that you stay in the UK. Oh, this is that Brexit game where you play as a bouncer and you deny or allow people into the bar. It doesn't seem like that's all this game really is though, so I'll keep an eye on it. Definitely a political statement there. It's in English and simplified Chinese. I don't know why they picked simplified Chinese. But it seems like that's a odd one to go with, but okay. It's 10% off for $17.99. It's possible that this is really too expensive a game for something like this, but
The gates are open.
like it's a clear anti-Brexit storyline, which okay. Like a lot of people are anti-Brexit, and probably rightfully so. Like honestly, I don't know if anybody knows what's gonna happen ever for anything. So I mean, that's the truest statement ever said. I honestly don't know if anybody knows what's ever gonna happen. Yeah, no duh. See, I have 5 right now. If I was to play what I want to play, it wouldn't work. I need to remember I'm playing against friends, so I want to keep this fast because I don't believe the timer rope will ever come up. There's a game called Factory Manager on Steam. It looks like MS Paint level graphics. It doesn't look very good at all. Seems like we get these simulation games every now and then. We're not getting them too often, but we're not getting them great. But boy, have I not seen any visual novels. Like, no visual novels at all in the past week, it seems. Or very, very few. I was seeing 3, 4, 5 of them every day. And it's just like totally stopped.
Your magic shall not save you.
As you command. Again!
Let's see, I could have killed that guy too.
Your soul is mine.
Let's do that. GameIndustry.biz has an article. NVIDIA cryptocurrency revenues fall 82% below the $100 million estimate for last quarter. Revenues up, but the OEM segment declines 54% with crypto's shortfall. So yeah, NVIDIA was trying to hope to make money off of cryptocurrency, and now they've gone the other direction and said, yeah, cryptocurrency is dead because clearly they didn't make any money on it. Let's take that victory. And I'm gonna look here, and I'm going to, at this point, stop taking and talking about every single game, and I'm just gonna try and wrap up this stream here. There is this game called 21 Plus that's labeled as a casual game, and it says it's just a collection of jokes, and every single scene is probably pre-bought or stolen, badly drawn, hand-drawn girl in a bikini with photorealistic actual photos of beaches in the background. Like, clearly this is nothing. It has 100 Steam achievements. It's 10% off at 89 cents. So these kind of non-game achievement games still are being allowed. It's labeled as 21 plus as the name, They've already released a game called 18 Plus, and yeah, it's just ridiculous that those games are being allowed while other games, better games, are being held back. Is this Steam's attempt to make it look like all visual novels and all games with sexual content suck? I don't know. Like, it kind of feels like that's what they're doing. Let's see. We don't ever need to talk about an article just talking about a game going to Kickstarter, so I can close that. And TechRaptor says Doom Eternal will have single-player DLC instead of Snap Map. As best as I've figured, as I did a little bit of research, it seems like Doom Eternal is the continuation of Doom 2016. It's not some side story MOBA games or anything like that. So, yeah, good to know there. Hey, somebody's on the chat. Let's see. We have Carissa Rojas. I'm a new player. Can you suggest a good hero to start with? By far, the one they want you to start with is the mage. It's probably not the best to start to play with consistently, but before you even start playing, they had you play as a mage. They had you unlocking more cards. The only thing I can really say is probably just play everything and get the basic cards unlocked for all the characters as much as possible. There is a way to cheat it pretty easily if you friend somebody and they help you. And if you friend me, tell me what account you're on. I'm willing to help you too if I have the free time, which seems like I might right now. What they can do is if you friend somebody and then they challenge you or you challenge them on a standard duel, you can boost them up by letting them play a bunch of cards, and you play a bunch of cards and letting you take a bunch of damage to their face, because that's what you need to do. Is you need to play as many cards as possible per game and do as much damage to the face, healing the face and then doing more damage and such. There's a deck I have on my main Americas account called the Druid Helper deck that is specifically designed to help new players. You want to level everything up to level 10 because I believe there's something that unlocks at level 10, and then you want to level everything up to level 20 so you have all the basic cards. And at that point, once you have all the basic cards, when you come to make a new deck, then the classic Druid will have at least most of the cards that they want you to play with, and you can start following those recommendations. Or you could use Hearthstone Deck Tracker as an app and HS Replay to tell you what are the best decks you can build. That's a little complicated, and you're not going to get very good decks anyways as a new player. The number one thing is to get all these basic cards unlocked for all the characters, so you at least have the beginning of a character to play as. And you don't want to burn out, so play everything. Just bounce around until everything is unlocked. It's such a long journey, and there really isn't a ton of help. The only real help is you can buy this welcome bundle for $5 to give you 10 classic packs and 1 random classic class specific legendary minion, and then you can just buy big chunks of classic cards. Classic is all new players really should be doing, the purchase things. The solo adventures also might be something to consider. If you get bored, there is some progress that can be made by doing Kobolds and Catacombs should be unlocked for a new player, and the Witchwood should be unlocked for a new player. And Tuesday, the Boomsday Project is going to have some puzzles that you can do. So doing the monster hunt and the dungeon run, I believe, will give you also experience. You want to work towards being able to do the Tavern Brawl, and I think that happens at rank 20 when all the characters are at rank 20. That way you can do the Tavern Brawl and win at least one card pack every time there's a new Tavern Brawl, which is like once or twice a week. I would say specifically stay out of Arena. Try not to use your gold for anything right now, and if you are using your gold for anything, it's that you earn by doing the daily quests. Make sure you log in at least once every 3 days and do the daily quests, and frankly you need to log in every day and trade out the daily quests by clicking on the X to get the best daily quests that have the most rewards. So you want to go for things that are 60, 80, or 100 gold, get rid of anything below 60, and do those daily quests to get gold to get more basic packs. Don't focus on the new Boomsday Project expansion or Journey of Ungoro or Knights of Frozen Throne, because these will turn into wild packs and you won't be able to play those cards eventually. So same is true with Kobolds and Catacombs and the Witchwood. These are just not the cards to buy. If you somehow managed or spent a ton of money and got all of the classic cards or most of the classic cards, you would then want to buy Boomsday Project because that's the newest expansion, but that's not really helpful. Stay away from these hero things. They're just aesthetic customizations. They don't add anything to actual gameplay, so they're not worth it. And yeah, that's kind of all I can recommend, is just, yes, bounce around, have fun, see if somebody is willing to play you and friend you and boost you so you can get up to rank 10 or 20 a little quicker. That's kind of the only thing you can really do. Carissa Rojas says, that's a lot of info, thank you. Yeah. They really need, for new players, just to hand you a complete collection of all the classic cards, because then you could start with a ton of cards that you still wouldn't really understand what they did. You'd have to spend several hours looking at every single card and trying to figure out what the good ones are, but you would be somewhere. And you can see, like, these ones in Shadow are classic cards that I don't even have on this account. You would have roughly 16 unique cards per hero class to pick from, while also having several pages of neutral cards that could be played in any class. And there's really no reason to make new players struggle for this, because all the classic cards in total only equal 32 pages, whereas if you look at all the cards that are allowed to be played in standard, it's 120 pages. So the other expansions make up a significant majority of newer cards to play, and 120 pages is still only about half of all the cards that ever existed, which is 203 pages of all cards, which is what the all cards means, because new players at this point probably will never get any cards for Gadgetzan, Karazhan, the Old Gods, League of Explorers, Grand Tournament, Goblins vs. Gnomes, Blackrock Mountain, Exoramus, or the Hall of Fame cards. You probably will never get any of those. And there's more expansions in the wild sets versus the standard sets at this point, specifically to try to make it easier for new players, but it's still really not that easy. There needs to be a much bigger welcome bundle and like a free welcome bundle for new players. They're running into the problem of World of Warcraft too, where it's like a new person in the World of Warcraft can jump up to somewhere around level 100 plus, whereas old people who are playing World of Warcraft would have had to grind a lot to get that far. But they need to do that because anybody who's new to World of Warcraft needs to catch up and be on the same level as the experts who have been playing since the beginning of the beta. Alright, I'm trying to wrap up the news here. So, GameIndustry.biz, earlier I said that they seemed like they weren't trying to show any real agenda by covering Super Seducer 2 and interviewing the creator there. I'm hoping they're going to say the same here. They have an article, Riot Games exec Greg Street promises change to sexist culture. Meanwhile, ex-Riot artist and Jinx creator Katie DeSouza reflects on her own experience and is confident the studio can turn things around. This is the article that has been irritating me for the past couple of weeks. Really started by Kotaku just to avoid people remembering that it was the anniversary of Gamergate. But like, I guess Riot is now doing their interviews and they're trying to get the heat off of them for something that should have never really been on them. Because remember, the complaint in this story was a ex-employee was upset because people talked over her. That's it. That's this huge sexist, toxic culture. That's the only complaint. There's no assault claim, there's no police charges, there's nothing. I mean, it's such a non-story, and yet it keeps on coming up. The quote at the bottom here is, "This is a difficult task. I don't envy the work ahead to them. The studio is the size of a small town, and it's going to take a lot of work to retroactively dig out of the weeds that have been ignored and allowed to develop roots. But when has Riot ever shied away from difficult tasks?" And that's a quote from Katie D'Souza of Phoenix Labs. Well, and see, Katie D'Souza may be the person who was complaining about being talked over, or she may be just I don't know. If there's a bigger story here, it certainly was not reported correctly. The incidences that were mentioned made it feel like it's a non-story. If there really is a story of Riot in a toxic environment, there needed to be like Channel Awesome's Google document where it was just a long list of grievances, and most of the grievances, frankly, in the Channel Awesome document were not anything worth even mentioning, but they got mentioned, and there was enough of them that it made more sense. Whereas in this story, the Kotaku story, no. I mean, it really seemed like only 2 or 3 things. It seemed like whining from disgruntled employees. And so even now, if I was the manager of Riot, I would be like, oh, well, this is a non-issue, and I wouldn't deal with it. I really wouldn't. I might have a talk with HR and say, hey, if somebody files a complaint, let me know. I want to know the real complaints. Bring out all the files. Let's see if this has really happened. So we can either say, look, our HR department has no complaints whatsoever, or we found out that there was a bunch of complaints that HR wasn't taking higher up to the CEOs and the people in charge. That's where I would want it to go. Anyways, I want to get off that story. I'm tired of it's like the 3rd time I've had to report on it. OpenCritic has an article. Diablo 3 is now officially confirmed for the Nintendo Switch, so yeah, take that for what it is, that Activision Blizzard is a big old liar when they said, no, we're not making a Nintendo Switch version of Diablo. But clearly that is a Nintendo thing too, is Nintendo hates leaks. Absolutely hates them. And they probably delayed and put at jeopardy whether Diablo 3 would come out on the Switch because of that leak. That's just like not something that the Blizzard should have done at all. And they should have known not to do that. TechRaptor has an article, Etrian Odyssey Nexus navigates westward early 2019. In the article itself, that's kind of all you need to take from the title. Let's see. TechRaptor has a QuakeCon 2018 excitement and mixed feelings. QuakeCon happened, but there's not a ton of things. There probably is a good argument to say QuakeCon should change its name because of just the fact that Quake is not the main thing that's being promoted there. Let's see, we skip over a lot of these Chinese games. I might filter them out if they're not in English. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article, Arc of Alchemist details the world, story, and characters. That's a game that's coming out for what? Let's see, it's PlayStation 4, November 29th in Japan. Arc of Alchemist. Very possibly that one's not coming to the West. Yeah, it almost seems like anything that is tagged with visual novel at this point is not allowed on Steam. PC Gamer has an article, Intel teases its own discrete GPU ahead of the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 launch. An Intel discrete GPU is fine if you're just using a laptop and not playing any modern video games, but in all realisticness, if you want to play the AAA games, you're not going to be using Intel integrated graphics cards. They're too new to the market. Eventually, give it another 10 years, they might get so good that they're actually competing with NVIDIA, which would be good because we could definitely use more than two people, two companies making most of the video card chipsets, even if there's a bunch of like subcontractors that are actually building the video cards from those chipsets. I wanted to mention this. YouTube creators put out a tweet on August 16th about a person on Twitter called @apocalypto_12. They're describing they're describing him as the friend and former manager of Markiplier. So this guy, Apocalypto12, has the in with the king Markiplier at YouTube. And that's the only reason why this story is getting any headway at all. Or any news. So YouTube creators is putting out this on tweet. They're saying that sadly his mother has stage 4 B cancer, which I assume is breast cancer, and let's see, he's taking her to accomplish a bucket list. He asks that you watch and share this video to honor his incredible mother. And apparently the video is him shaving his head and her shaving his head in solidarity. My point here is breast cancer is incredibly common. It's also very common in males as well as females. But a lot of YouTubers' mothers are sick of something. A lot of YouTubers' fathers are sick of something. A lot of YouTubers know people who have cancer. The reason that YouTube Creators is putting out this video and promoting this video is just because he is in that crony circle, that elite, and that should just not be the case. YouTube Creators should either be randomly tweeting out people and supporting people or saying nothing at all. This is a great instance in which YouTube Creators' Twitter feed should have just said nothing at all. This is kind of just virtue signaling. Look, we want to support this person, although there's really nothing you can support her with other than maybe pushing for better healthcare funding, better research funding, better healthcare systems in the United States. I assume that she's in the United States. But if it's terminal cancer, there's probably no solution or anything you could do there. They're not even really promoting like a cancer research foundation or a place that would fund hospitals that would treat patients for free or anything like that. So they're just kind of being virtue signalers that we care about cancer, but we're not really doing anything. We just want to get you to watch our videos so we can get more ad revenue. I mean, there's some real sleaziness here for when you think about it from YouTube Creators' part, when they really just shouldn't have done anything. And YouTube Creators in general is very cronyistic and retweets people that they like all the time and then ignores the 99.99% of all other YouTube creators. Really, they should just be silent. YouTube creators, for the most part, should be only posting videos that YouTube themselves makes that are talking about improving your own YouTube channel and what they want you to do and how you can improve it. And that's kind of not what they're doing. Let's see. Moving on. Skipping over a lot of games. Let's see. As an article, I'm going to skip that one because that's just about a game too. Like, I know I haven't played a game in a while, and this is generally the same as if I was just going down my Twitter feed. And part of the reason why I started late today was because I was going down my Twitter feed and I was thinking, really, should I be doing that or should I not be doing that? I've decided to mute Unreal Engine on my Twitter feed. They put out some interesting stuff about programming and animating with the Unreal Engine, but the vast majority of it is not stuff that's like actionable for me. So it's not video game news. I already mentioned that the Hearthstone Boomsday Project solo mode features more than 100 diabolical puzzles. On Tuesday we'll try to stream all of them. There are 4 classes or styles of puzzles. One is lethal, one is mirror, where you have to make your side of the board mirror the opponent's. One is board clear, where you have to clear the board, and one is survival, where you have to stand up against an onslaught. So simplistic ideas that will get increasingly more difficult. PC Gamer has an overhyping article about Boyfriend Dungeons, the game where your sword is also your boyfriend persona. It's a Kickstarter game. They've added a cat that is also brass knuckles. This one is getting just overhyped and over talked about, and it's a Kickstarter game, so I don't know if it's ever going to be done. It's just way too early for anybody to be talking about it. Let's see, GameIndustry.biz had a similar story. Developers of adult games on Steam should assume months before game approval. Negligee love stories forced into a likely delay as Valve continues to work on content filter. And see, the thing that Valve isn't saying there is that, oh, we're actively filtering all the visual novels right now, and that's why the visual novel tag is seemingly gone or unavailable to new games, and that they're trying to split that tag into 2 separate things. Honestly though, I told them on Steam's own forum, like, here's my suggestions, and when they were gonna change Greenlight to the, well, what was it called before? Steam Greenlight, and now it's just called Steam Direct. Yeah, when they were talking about changing Greenlight to Steam Direct, I told them, look, you just need a separate adult store. That's all you need. You just need an age-gated adult store then. And so had they seen my message and listened to it even then on their own forum for suggestions for the Steam store, they should have started work on it at that point, and it seems like they didn't. So maybe they saw my message way late and they're working on it, but how they're implementing it is totally wrong. Like, you just cannot stop business like this for months and months and months. It still feels like censorship. It still looks like censorship. It still is censorship to delay things. You don't think that in other scenarios things are delayed approval all the time as a form of censorship? They just never tell you that you're denied. YouTube is doing it for new people who apply for the partner program all the time. They're delaying approval. They're going for a second round of approval, third rounds of approval. It's like, no, you're just really censoring them and trying to see if they get bored and go away. PC Gamer has the same article. Adult game approval on Steam could still be months away. PC Gamer has an article. Torchlight Frontier Dev's Diary reveals more information on the MMO sequel. But it's Torchlight Frontiers is the MMO. Torchlight 1 and 2 were not MMOs. So maybe I'll read that article later. PC Gamer has an article. Fallout 76 has a lot to prove as it leaves Steam behind, since Fallout 76, I believe at this point, has said that it will directly not be on Steam, at least for the launch window, and only be on the Bethesda launcher. Yeah, Fallout 76 does have a lot to prove, and honestly, I don't think that it's going to be a good game in the first place. So I'm not super upset that it's not going to come to Steam. I don't think I'd play it anyways, so I'm just going to close that tab. This is another article about a game. Don't need to talk about that. Don't need to talk about that. Let's see. Interesting, and there's a Gamma Sutra blog here called What Are We Talking About When We Say Systemic Narrative. This is kind of the branching narrative. It's a blog talking about branching narratives and linear narratives and dynamic narratives, different types of narratives that you would have in a game. This is the thing that was the question and comment or slight disagreement that was talked about to Anita Rice, was it? From ArenaNet, that sent her off on her insane tirade claiming sexism where I don't think any could be found. So frankly, had she said something like this blog on Gamma Sutra, or just not said anything at all, which would have probably been the best for her, that would have been it. What's funny is that this gets talked about a month later. Like the answer, the discussion that the YouTuber was trying to have gets drowned out for an entire month and yelled over because the ArenaNet employees were being former employees now were being crazy. So that's an article you might want to check out. It's not super long. Oh man, I should have just played another game. Let's see. Jobs, we don't need to talk about that. Am I nowhere close? I don't think I'm anywhere close. Here's an important one. And this is taking way too long. I should be playing a game. Let's just play a game. Apologies for that. That should not have taken. I shouldn't have stayed and just talked. That's, I suppose, a small example of what my live streams would be if I just covered the news. Although I guess I could just be showing the articles and talking over them too, and get rid of the Hearthstone part completely. Veteran game designer arrested after altercation with the police. This is the GameIndustry.biz. You don't get stories like this too often. I think generally speaking, most video game designers are a little bit too much of a wimp to get in fights with the police. Industry crowdfunds, the industry crowdfunds legal and medical fees for the former Disney and Turbine developer Patricia A. Pizer after alleged assault. So the industry is totally supporting her, it seems like, and it's a female. A long-servicing games designer has been arrested in South Carolina after an altercation with the police that left her badly injured. Industry colleagues and supporters are raising money for legal and medical fees after the incident. So the question is this what happened here? I'm not even gonna editorialize it. It's like, what happened here that let's see, Patricia A. Pizer, P-I-Z-E-R, has been working in the game industry since 1994, which that's a veteran. That's what, 24 years, I guess for the video game industry. 24 years is a veteran developer. Let's see, having developed games at Disney Interactive Studios, which has been shut down, like they don't make anymore, Turbine Entertainment, and Ubisoft, with credits on a variety of games like Club Penguin, Elite Penguin Force, to Asheron's Call 2. News of her arrest first emerged on Pizer's own Facebook account, where her husband posted his account of what happened. He relayed that Pizer was arrested after filming police arresting someone else at a Quick Trip gas station. While he acknowledged he was not on the scene, he said he had watched the station security video of the incident. So this sounds like this, from that perspective, sounds like it's a corrupt police action. Let's see. He said the footage showed that his wife walks away and starts filming with her phone in selfie mode before a police officer runs over and tackles her. This knocks her on her feet and her face hits a glass door of the gas station, after which the officer punches her in the head, picks her up, and slams her. Well, geez. From that description, it seems like it's the true. And honestly, even if this was a case of her being a pain, it certainly sounds like from that description that the police were tackling her. Unless it's actually the truth that they said, stand right there, don't move, and then she starts moving and running away.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. It's like Pfizer's husband says that the wife did not hit the officer at any time, adding that he found her blood and a piece of her tooth when he visited the scene himself. He stressed that his wife was not confrontational and has never been in any trouble with the police before. The charge is a felony, he commented. They're covering their asses because of how much damage was done to her. GameIndustry.biz spoke to the Rock Hill Police Department, who confirmed that they did have Pizer in custody for hindering police and resisting arrest. So yes, this is not looking good for the police, and sadly in the United States this is This is far too often an occurrence. It happens certainly in a lot of other countries and just doesn't get reported at all. An official statement from the department provides the police account of the incident based on the department's review of body camera and store surveillance camera footage. Police statement reports that the officer arrived in response to a domestic incident between two parties described as a Caucasian male and female. When the officer was detaining the first person, Pizer allegedly tried to intervene by placing herself between the officer and the arrestee. The report says Pizer interfered by grabbing the officer and placing herself between them, and thus being arrested despite being told to step away. Report goes to state that the officer decided to arrest Pizer for hindering police and describes what followed. The officer advised Ms. Pizer that she was under arrest, and Ms. Pizer said she would not be arrested. Ms. Pizer walked away and the officer followed. The officer approached Ms. Pizer to place her in handcuffs while Ms. Pizer punched the officer in the head twice and kicked the officer once. The officer then attempted to put Ms. Pizer on the ground. However, she grabbed the handle of the door of the store. The officer pulled Ms. Pizer to break her grip on the door. The officer then put Ms. Pizer on the ground and continued to attempt to place her in handcuffs. A backup officer arrived and Ms. Pizer was taken to custody at that time. So you got a very, very different reports there. You've got probably some truth in the middle too. Like, and see, this is something everybody needs to learn, is just mind your business and stay away from police at all times. They are inherently a violent and dangerous threat to you in any situation, even if you don't think you are. Let's see. The report concludes that by saying that Pizer was treated by an EMS for leg abrasions and a mouth injury which consisted of a chipped tooth, and has been arrested and charged with hindering police and assault on an officer. Let's see.
What to do?
Is there anything really else to say about this? No. Like, this article goes on. Like, they're claiming that they didn't give her medical attention. But the police say they did. It's like, in all honesty, if a police officer in the United States says you're under arrest, you should just go, okay, turn around. What do you want me to do? I'll follow your instructions completely. Like, just let them arrest you and take you to prison where there's more cameras and more police, and at the very least a slight chance of less damage happening to you. Whereas if you resist at the scene, then it's only some camera somewhere that's your only backup, if there is any camera at all. Let's see.
Reporting for duty.
The last thing here is saying, industry friends and supporters have set up a GoFundMe campaign to cover Patricia's medical and legal fees. At the time of the post, the campaign has raised over 8,000 of its 10,000 goal. I think you're going to need more than that. It's a good thing, I suppose, that body cameras have been introduced somewhat, though. But inherently, the police in the United States and in other places too, they need better training and better hiring practices, and they need to stop hiring people who are only becoming police so that they can commit crimes themselves and get away with it and be violent. Trying to go through other things. I'm really just gonna have to look at a lot of these old games, and filter them out before Monday. Here's a game called Hinta Dojo. It has sexual content, indie, and nudity. It's an indie game and it has nudity. It's August 16th, 2018. And it's just like a spinning puzzle game with anime girls pictures. Let's see. Is there any achievements for this? No, it's 40% off for 59 cents. And I wanted to cover that game specifically because, yeah, it still feels like the cheap games are being allowed, but the other ones aren't. Like, this is from the developer that made the Range ripoff called Kings. This is the same developer that made Bitcoin and Bitcoin Farm. A lot of the games are mixed reviewed, a lot of the games are negative reviewed, and a lot of the games that are positively reviewed look like they're only positively reviewed because they are a achievement game or something, although this one, to be fair, isn't. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I can't even get to the Humble Store. I hadn't even really realized that. Little Nightmares, there's an old game. It has now sold over 1 million copies. It's not an old game. 18 months ago it came out. Alright, it's time to wrap up. There's all kinds of things as far as I recall. There's not any other news stories that really need to be talked about. So yeah, an hour later, that's gonna be it for this recording. I should have definitely played more Hearthstone than in the middle point there, but also just I'm gonna have to deal with a lot of news left over, and we haven't had a slow day in about 2 weeks now. So I may just forever have this backlog of news and games to talk about. Which, this is what happened with the Co-optional podcast too, is that they eventually just had to start filtering games as they hit the big times. Back in January or February, at the beginning of the year, games were a little less frequent to come out. Anyways, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, I ask people to friend me on Steam and gift me a game or a gift card. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.